Hello and welcome back to the Lovesick podcast. I am your host, Jada Ford, and with me, as always, is Dorothea McGuire and Michael Fishman. Today, we have Amy Gibson. I'm super excited to have her joining us today. She is the founder of createdhair.com and has salons in Beverly Hills. She is an alopecia, cancer, and hair loss expert. She is also an author and a daytime nominated Emmy, said that backwards, that's okay, a daytime Emmy nominated soap star. So, hello and welcome.
Hello. That was
Got
good.
it. That's third time's a charm.
It's a lot. It's so funny.
You're doing a lot. Well, welcome. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
What a nice, cool, easy environment. I love it.
I
The
love
vibe is great here.
that. So, Amy, my question for you, we have a bunch, obviously, we have a lot to talk about
Yeah.
and unwrap. Alopecia is something that I think, are hearing a lot more about, and people are more talking about it more. I've seen Jada Pinkett talk about it as well, but I think people are more confident about speaking on this, and I just wanted to know from you, I just wanna hear your story a little bit about your journey and how it started, and
That would go on very long. I'm going
we
to
can
make it
take your
really quick.
abridged journey.
Pardon me. Basically, pardon me. I was on my first show, Love of Life. I was in the makeup room, and they comb your hair in the morning, and I put my head over, and the makeup and the hair guy was always playing with me. He was always pranking, right? And he goes, you have a bald spot in the back of your head. I go, oh, that's really funny. He goes, no, you do. I said, really? And I look, and it was like the size of the palm of my hand, and it was super soft like silk.
Mm.
And I went, that is so crazy. I must have been watching some kind of documentary on leprosy, because I always watched these weird documentaries as a kid. Because the next thing I thought was, oh my God, is my arm gonna go? Or is my leg gonna go? Like it was pretty crazy. And then I went into an emotional spin. I was 13, just over 13, maybe a quarter. So it was diagnosed that I had alopecia. And I had alopecia areata. There's several different types of alopecia. Alopecia is mainly an immune disorder, although they're referring to all hair loss as alopecia, which is really not true. But alopecia is basically immune disorder that, how can I put it simply? The body thinks it has an infection, so it fights against itself, and hair loss results, without getting too technical. Okay. But there are several stages. So I had the little round spots. That's called areata. And then it went into totalis, which is where you lose just the top. But I still had my brows, body hair, and all that stuff. Although I was never super hairy, but still, right, all the stuff. Then when I was, this is in 2015, I had a very dear person in my life who I had given hundreds of thousands of dollars to and really helped. I had a call from the bookkeeper that this person had ripped me off of a lot of money.
Mm.
And I went, that's impossible. I mean, I have helped her for years. She would never do this. Really? Did she have access to this card and this checkbook? And I'm like, when did she do this, right? Well, she put 300 here. And anyway, it was $85,000. And I completely went into a place I'd never gone to emotionally, where I was shaking from anger. And that was a Wednesday night. And Saturday morning, I'll never forget it, I was on the bed, and Bill looks at me, my husband, and he goes, honey, where are your eyelashes and eyebrows? I went, what? What are you I lift up the sheet. I had nobody, like I lost it all. So alopecia lives and thrives on stress. The more stressed you get about it, it becomes like this vicious cycle,
Mm.
right? So you have to try to find a way to calm yourself in the interim of it, which is what I've learned. So then it was Saturday. The salon was booked. It's not really a salon, it's a private studio. And I thought, well, I have a break from 2 to 4. I'm going to go to Nordstrom's. They have those great makeup artists. I'm just going to go in. And before I went, I prayed. I said, okay, Mom, I know you're up there. You need to bring me to the right person right now, because I'm literally having a nervous breakdown. I mean, you need to tell me what to do. And I walked in, and everybody was busy. I thought, God, what an idiot I am to come at prime time on a Saturday afternoon and think that somebody is, and I'm talking to myself, how could you do this? I mean, you're not going to find anybody. And all of a sudden, this blonde girl named Kristen, who's in my book, taps me on the shoulder, and she goes, hi. And she hands me her card. She goes, can I help you? I'm the Nordstrom's brow specialist. I went, what?
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
And I looked up and said, "Ma, love you, Ma." And she worked with me for 2 hours. I mean, I would do my clients, but doing it on myself, I literally just couldn't. I'm not good with the left hand being able to do that. I'm more of a righty, even though when I golfed, I did ambidextrous. So she taught me, and I went back, another time, and I just played and learned how to do my brows. But that didn't handle the emotional spin because what it did was it put me back to where I was at 13,
Mm.
right? And my therapist was like, "You didn't heal that yet, because had that been really healed, this would have been easier. So let's deal with that, and then we'll be able to heal with this," right? So it was a lot of working through my image thing because I was brought up with a mane of gorgeous hair. I was known for my hair as a kid. And I remember when I lost my hair, my father was sitting in the corner. I came home with my mother, and he was just having a breakdown over my hair. And I looked at her and I go, "Shouldn't that be me? I mean, he's having a breakdown over there." And so I had to relearn again. I've always said that women who have cancer are my heroes because they have to make a difficult choice of doing whatever you got to do to stay here, okay, for their loved ones, their partners, their job. But in addition to having to keep a smile on her face so that they're not fearful and freaked out by her, she then's going to lose the only thing that represents for most women, and it did for me, their sexuality, their sensuality, and they still have to walk around learning this wig journey, being okay with it, going through chemo. It's like they're my heroes. Alopecians have an interesting journey because it's an unpredictable condition. Sometimes it grows back, sometimes it doesn't. Over a certain age, it normally doesn't, over 30. And now there's other drugs out there that are helping, but I'm not one to do the drugs simply because I don't want anything foreign in my body, and there's side effects that I never think. I don't trust it, the medical community that way, and that they're really telling you everything about this drug in the beginning. I think we find out things later, right? So I just don't like anything foreign in my body that way. That's just me. But there are things that are working out there. So the thing I had to learn was, number one, especially with women with hair loss, be it cancer or alopecia, I've always felt that those women, with all due respect, um, are deeper than most women because we don't have this to depend on anymore, right?
Right.
It's like the woman that gets her breasts cut off,
Mm.
whether she has a mastectomy or not and gets them rebuilt. I really honor that woman, especially if that woman was really attached to those breasts, whether she gets new ones or not,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I've always felt that women with hair loss have to reach a little bit deeper. I find that the women I meet in my business are so interesting. Like, I love my clients. I love them. They're all like fighters, and they're going to get in there and do what you got to do. And if you're not like that in the beginning, by the time you're done with me, you are like that.
Right.
I love that.
Okay? Because I don't let you sit and be a victim.
Mhm.
I'll let you, let's be emotional for a moment. Let's deal with it. Let's grieve. That's very important. But I don't let you sit there very long because it doesn't do you any good and doesn't do me any good. We basically have to change our perspective of the situation, and then your reality changes about anything, especially about hair loss. So alopecia has several different types, but the most common are the areata, the totalis, and the universalis, which is all body hair. But I guess the one thing I fight still is I wake up and there's no frame. Like, there's no brows, there's no lashes. And although I wear them and I do it, and I had a bad tattoo job done years ago, and they had to take off the tattoo recently. So I can then finally not do the brow anymore because I've done it for 10 years. I want to,
Right.
now, or however long it is, I now want permanent. But I wake up and there's nothing there, right? I don't have the tattoo now. And so the very first thing I do when I get out of bed is I run to the bathroom. My husband's still sleeping. And then I walk the dogs, right? I just feel like weird. I live in a building with a lot of security, and you walk down and you say hello to the security guard or whatever, and I feel weird, like, without brows,
Yeah.
And so that's the thing I think we have to learn to live with, is that we're not that,
Right.
but we are some of that still. And to say, "Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not," that's just a bunch of crap. Every woman wants to feel beautiful. Every woman wants to own her beauty. And whether it's hair, breast, whatever you got going on, maybe you have a great ass, you have great legs, whatever it may be, that's your thing.
Yep.
And if that goes, you know what? You got to deal with something else and make something else more important. It's like when I was going through this, my mom never, ever, ever cried. She never, I used to think she was sympathetic to a point because she thought it was more important to put the energy on how smart I was and sweet and my script work and the stuff I was doing in the industry and stuff I would do charitable, like all that was more important than the hair. So, but one day I was walking by her room and I heard her crying under the blanket. And later on I said, "Were you crying about anything particular?" And she said, "I really don't want to discuss it." I said, "If you were crying about my hair, get over it. I'm okay." And but she wouldn't give it any life. She felt like where you put your focus is where you place your reality.
Yep.
And
Oh, I
that's what you
like that.
create,
Yeah,
where you
I
place your
like
focus
that.
is what you create.
That's true.
And so the more I stayed off of this and the more I stayed on my soap and my commercials and things I was doing that filled my soul, this became less and less important to me. But it was definitely a hat trick because with alopecia, you can take cortisone shots. And although we'll have the hair grow back in that little spot, it doesn't stop the hair loss. So you're constantly looking for an undergrounder
Oh,
to see. So I was nervous. And then when I was going on from Young and the Restless to General Hospital, and my hair was kind of thinning a little bit on Young and the Restless. You couldn't tell because they put a lot of teasing and stuff. But when I was off the show, I was off for about a year and a half. I was broke. And the producers called me and said, "I wrote this great part in for you on General Hospital, the part of an undercover detective." I said, "Oh, cool." And then I realized, how am I going to do that? I have all these spots. So I went to Cedars-Sinai and they gave me too much. It wasn't regulated at that time. And they gave me so much cortisone that when I walked out, I was seeing like triple. I was seeing weird. And I said to this old man who was standing there, "Can you tell me how many hot dog trucks there are?" He said, "Oh, one, of course." I went, "One?" I stopped all the treatments and lost all my hair in 3 weeks, just 7 weeks before starting this role. Now, I went into a mini nervous breakdown for like 4 days. But then I realized I really need this job for a lot of reasons.
Right.
I got to figure this out. So I sat and I prayed and I thought, I'm going to turn this character into one with 7 different dialects and 7 different wigs and looks. And I'm going to go to Howard Fine, who's Mickey Rourke's coach, and learn these dialects. And so then I met the producer at the only place I knew I wouldn't lose it, which was at the cafe in the Beverly Hills Hotel. And I said,
My favorite hotel.
I'm telling you, I love that place. But it's a place that's kind of closed in, right? The cafe, not the restaurant. And so I said, I have this great, I don't know how we didn't know I was wearing a wig. I saw a picture of myself later. It's in my book. I'm like,
Well, you look fabulous.
Thank you. This is different though than what I wore back then.
Right.
They didn't have the wigs like this back then.
Right.
Okay?
But today you look fabulous.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I said, I got this great idea. And I pitched it to him and he goes, "Wow, nobody's done 7 personalities. I think that's amazing. What made you come up with this?" And I told him and he goes, "Okay, that's a problem." He goes, "We're going to have an NDA." He goes, "You'll probably be ousted from Hollywood like a bald freak if anybody knows about this. So we can't let the press know. Can't let your castmates know. You can't let the producers know. You can't let the writers know. I'm going to pitch this story. How much you need for the wigs?" I said, $100,000 for the wigs. And I gave him the budget. I'd already had it worked out with one of the biggest wig makers here. And we did that storyline.
Oh, wow.
So the toughest thing about it was whether it was Swedish or Russian or whatever I was playing, I had to wear the same wig to work there and back. So that was my hair.
Yeah.
And the other thing I had to do was if somebody went to feel my hair, I couldn't jump, right? I had to learn that if you came behind me to hug me, to stay really calm and not jump. I had to there was nobody talking about this. There was no Sinead O'Connor. There was no Kardashians wearing wigs. Nobody talked about baldness. When People magazine covered me in 2008, I was the first one to come out truly bald with alopecia. Wow. And I had to make a very big decision going public. And when I did it, it was the best thing I ever did, but the storyline worked and nobody ever found out. When People magazine covered me, I had gone out. I don't know if you remember Est. It was a self-help. It's now the landmark.
Mm.
And you start out, every person goes, "Can I tell you how I feel?" So I had gone out with this guy. Seriously, I'd gone out with this guy for 2 years. And his name was Barry. And he would go, "Can I tell you how I feel, Amy?" So I get a call from Barry when it comes out, when People came out. He goes, "Hey, Aim, it's Bear. Listen, I just want to tell you, I'm really proud of you and what you're doing for women all over the world. And, but, can I just say something? Can I just tell you how I feel?" I go, "Of course, Barry." And he goes, "I really feel betrayed." I said, "You what?" He said, "Well, we went out for 2 years and, you never told me. I didn't know. That's because I had something called a thrasher wig that looked exactly like it that I would change into, that I teach women to have in my book. It's Sex, Wigs, and Whispers, that book that I wrote. Love and Life with Hair Loss. It gives you all the tips of what to do with dating.
Mhm.
So I would have a thrasher wig, and then I would change back into my wig in the morning, and I did this for 2 years. Like, he never knew.
Wow.
And I go, "Well, let me first say something,
Lucky you
Barry."
made it about him, though. You
Right?
know what I mean?
I
Like, you didn't
said,
tell
"When
me.
will you realize?" Exactly. I said, "First of all, when will you realize it's not about you? Second of all, maybe I just didn't feel safe."
Mm.
Right? I
Rightfully.
didn't feel, a woman has to feel safe,
Yeah.
you know? And I believe that my hair loss is a gift to somebody, and obviously you weren't that much for me to give it to. And the third thing is, "Oh, Bear, can you do me a favor?" He goes, "Sure, Ames, anything." I go, "Can you remember this tone?" Click. I thought, what an ass. I was so vulnerable at this time.
Yeah.
And so women, with alopecia, there's wigs. There's great wigs out there. Not only would I make it creative hair, but there's some great wigs out there, much more than was available 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago. There's YouTube. My YouTube channel, Created Hair by Amy Gibson. I took a loan out from SBA to put 79 videos, tutorials, full day shoots with my partner, Kathleen Leonard, who's African American and is my partner for so long and does all the styling tips and everything you need to know. Plus, she works all with black hair and she tells you everything you got to do with textured
Right.
hair.
Mhm.
Because I wanted to do that for the woman that has alopecia or has hair loss and is sitting in, like, I don't know, Little Rock, Arkansas or something, and there's no wig shop near her or doesn't have access to someone like me. And this way, it's all in one home. You're not looking all over the internet for something. And so there's solutions. The problem is, when you have hair loss, you get into this this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And then you look on the internet and there's a plethora of information and it's so confusing. And then you look in the mirror and you don't look like you anymore. And you have to figure it out. You have to say, "Okay, I'm going to take it step by step." So when Kathleen did these with me, we're like, "Okay, we're going to do this honestly, like we're talking to a child who doesn't know anything about this,
Right.
and really walk them through this process," because not many people do that way. I mean, I'm really into educating my clients, even before, during, after chemo, whether it's alopecia or just simple hair loss. Thyroid hair loss, hormonal is huge. Stress is huge. But I think women with hair loss, then you have to decide, who do I trust?
Yep.
Who do I trust around me to tell? Do you know, I told one girl on the set and she didn't talk to me for 2 years.
Because you told
Aviva, I hope you're watching.
I'm
Um,
gonna tell you right now, I have so many questions having grown up in this industry
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't know if the word is empathy or outrage. Like, I have so many different layers because I can only begin to fathom what that experience must have been like
Well,
on set.
growing up in the industry, you are judged for every little thing anyway.
Right.
So denial is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, because my mom, I just was so focused on what I had to do.
Right.
Right.
But the industry is cruel.
Yeah, it can be very cruel.
Cruel.
And I can only imagine knowing what people and part of it
Nobody
is
knew.
right, but that's what I'm saying is knowing what the potential is,
Oh, it was huge. I was so scared.
and then knowing that stress is a magnifier, right?
Right.
Ugh, yeah.
Like, I can
That's so
only
scary.
like you're fighting a war that no one can know about.
Right.
Mhm.
and you're
Well
hiding
said.
yourself in the midst of standing in front of the world.
Right.
So it's all of these really
That's why
extreme.
People magazine, that's why it was when I created the first women's swim wig, which is what they covered. And the company said to me, "Hey, will you do a catalog bald?" And I really took a long time to think about it. I think it was
Right.
like 4 or 5 hours that day. And I said, well, I'm either going to tell people really who I am
Mm-hmm.
and not give a shit
Right.
and just be okay with it. So if I'm going to make this decision, I have to stand behind the decision. I cannot waffle here.
Yeah, there is no room.
And there's no taking it back.
Mm-mm.
And it was a really big decision. But I was really angry because I didn't want to have to worry about what the industry thought of me. And I think because I'm I'm a fighter,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? By nature, grew up with 7 guys, fighting to be a woman in the industry and not sleep my way there and all the other things that happen, that I figured I was going to get through this hell or high water. And if I slam and lose, I lose. And all right, I'll find something else to do. But I actually left the industry after General Hospital and after doing the street because 2 things happened. I went into an audition and there were these girls with the most gorgeous hair and I didn't have my stuff down yet.
Mm.
I really didn't.
Oh.
And I thought, first of all, I'm really bored with soaps. I chose to write myself out of General Hospital. I asked the producers to write me out. It was a miserable show to work on, miserable cast. They're very afraid because they're this clique of people, and if you come in new, you're going to take their storyline. So I wasn't treated well on that show,
Mm.
and plus I wrote my own storyline with the writers. So I came in without testing.
Mm.
They all thought I was sleeping with the producer. I'm like, duh, I don't think so. He's only like 90.
Oh
But
my God.
the other thing was that, I knew, we all know when our time is up
Mhm.
with a passion that you've had.
That's true.
Yep.
And the last 2 years on General Hospital, when I was on that show, although I did a job and I went there, I wasn't enjoying it. And I
Right.
didn't care how much money I was making, and they paid me a lot.
That's when you know.
My mom said to me, God, you're making money. You have a boy. I don't understand what's wrong here. Like, what is going on here? If you're not happy, then get the hell out.
Right.
Mm.
I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is the only thing I've ever done. She goes, well, you know what? Unless you leave, you won't know. You need to figure this out.
Oh, wow. That's great advice.
And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well, maybe I should still keep my agent as a backup, except that he had dropped me because I left the show.
Right.
So I was no longer his ticket.
Right.
Mhm.
So I really had to figure it out, and it took a long time
Oh no, we
to
could
figure it out.
we
Yeah.
we could do because I don't have in the way you had it, but there's a lot of similarities in aspects of our stories and like
Tell me.
experiences from the standpoint of I had agents drop me for stupid reasons. One of
Right.
them, like when I was 18, I got dropped because I went to an audition and wore my wedding ring
Shut up.
and basically had a part and the part went away and literally did this thing. Like I've never really said
You're
this, but
kidding.
no, they literally were like, okay, don't make anything on this date because this is when we're going to do the wardrobe fitting and this is when we're going to do this and then this is when we're going to start production. And
Oh,
then all of a sudden
wow.
somebody turned to me and goes, well, how come you're wearing a ring? I'm like, oh, I got
What?
married and I had a baby at the time.
Summer was hot for you that got mad.
And I was like, and it was so funny because it was a young character, but it wasn't like it was an underage character. It was just a young adult character or whatever.
Well, Hollywood pedophilia
Well,
existed then too.
Right. And so
That
then the
too.
next thing, the person literally hands me a different side and says, hey, why don't you go out and then come back in and read for this thing? And I look at it, and the guy was like 35. Now I'm 18 and probably looked 16 on a good day with some help, right? So I already looked young for my age. There's no way I'm playing somebody 35. I walked back in. It was the most arbitrary, and we've all been there as a performer where you couldn't get through the audition fast enough.
Right.
They say, that's lovely. Good job. Thanks. And you walk out the room and I'm like,
Wow.
I
What
didn't-
happened?
Right. And I called an agent and she lost it. And she's like, why'd you wear your ring? One,
What would it matter?
Right.
well,
Wow.
it shouldn't matter. And also this was one of the things for me was one, nobody told me that would be an issue. But two, I'm not going to change who I am. Very much
Right.
like you. I love what I do, but it's not who I am.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
And I'm not
Yep.
going to sacrifice. And I have lost jobs over the years where
Yeah.
I was in groups or cliques, or there have been places where everybody else went a different way, or there were certain behaviors on set that I wouldn't agree with, or that I spoke up about behind the scenes and talked
Mhm.
about and was not okay with, or things were not as inclusive as they should have been. And for me, I was never going to be okay with that.
Yeah, good for you.
And then you become, but then you become the
The enemy.
outsider. You become,
Sure.
you become dangerous, right?
Yep.
You
Right.
know, that
Yeah.
reminds me of that's so funny. I haven't thought about this in so long. I went on a really big audition, it was like down to 2 people with a huge director. Not as bad as when I met Robert Redford and then nothing came out of my mouth. I had it was for ordinary people, and it was
Very
between
attractive man.
Elizabeth and myself. And I was finally meeting Robert
Yes,
Redford, and I
Robert
was so in
Redford.
love with him. I went. And my agent said to me, "What the hell happened?" I go, "I couldn't talk."
I'm still trying to get it
I'm
right.
telling you, it's like, I was so like in love with it. I went on this audition, and I refused to be a paramount at 7:30 at night.
Mm.
I said, "I'm not going on this audition at 7:30 at night, Alan. I will see them at 4:30 in the afternoon." "Well, no, this director wants you at 7:30. I said, "Well, you can tell the director to, bop up. I am not going to do that. So if he wants to see me, he can see me no later than 5.
Yeah.
Went in. I thought I gave the best audition of my life.
Mm.
Truly, I went to levels of grief and emotion that I had never done on a soap. And I had studied the history of this. I created the character just I really worked hard. And I didn't get it. And the feedback was, "Oh, Amy Gibson. Yeah, she had a thread hanging from her skirt."
What?
That's what the director told my agent.
That's some.
To me,
Yeah.
That's
in,
some.
Yeah.
It can be
Yeah.
cruel.
in
That's
Hollywood
cruel
speak, that
business.
was you had
Oh.
integrity, and I wasn't okay with the fact that you didn't do
Oh
what
my-
I told
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't
And it-
about to do it,
And
man.
if a skirt thread was
Mm.
like, I look at that and go, that's great feedback, because what I hear is you probably were the absolute best person,
Yes.
and
Yep.
you were great, because if that's the only complaint you
Yeah,
can come up
exactly.
with,
Exactly.
Oh, it was crazy.
like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll
so
take
I didn't
that.
get the role, that's for sure.
Wow.
But,
That's crazy.
You have a question here that I was looking at. And Michael, I really identify with the fact that I have a lot of guy friends in this industry. Some are gay, some are straight. And they go up against a lot of pressure being straight and have lost a lot of jobs. And it's unfortunate because one of my friends, I think, is one of the most talented people in this decade, okay, in this century in terms of real talent. And he just, of course, everybody wants a piece of him. And he's doing construction today. I mean,
Oh,
he's
wow.
he's just not willing to go there.
Yeah.
You asked a question I thought was really interesting here when you showed me the notes, which is, how do women normalize being comfortable in their own body?
Right.
Yes.
I had a hard time answering that because I'm not comfortable totally in my body.
Mhm.
I always think it's a little more fat, a little more this, a little more that. I'm very hard on myself. My husband's always saying to me, "Oh my God, you look so gorgeous. Like, what is wrong with you?" I am somebody that could not answer that question because I think it takes a lot of inner spiritual work to make the body less important
Mhm.
and the soul preeminent to get through that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm not successful with it. I'm being honest. I'm not. I could say I'm better than I was, certainly, and I think I'm beautiful. I have hair. I know where my faults are. I know
Mhm.
what wigs look okay, and I'm also aging, and I have the aging thing going on, and accepting myself at a different age, and seeing wrinkles that weren't there, and there's that whole thing, Dorothea.
I sure do. 65 and on.
Yeah, but look at you. You have not one wrinkle.
My
But, you know,
grandma's like that too.
I think I take after my mom as
She has
far as her
her 80s,
genes
zero
because she
wrinkle.
looks.
I don't know about that as much
Yeah.
as I've been always told that African American women
Right, they do.
don't have the wrinkles because their skin has such moisture and is much more oily.
Right.
Probably.
I mean, some
Some of that, I think
some
that's a
people.
good show. I think that's a good.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I have.
moisturize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of clients with
Yeah.
a lot of wrinkles. Look at you. You don't have
Yeah.
one. You know what? You go away.
Not
Go away.
Turn around,
But so I couldn't really answer that question. When
No,
you
it's
sent
fine.
it to me last night also, I was looking at that. I said, how do people?
But you're very good at helping people.
That's
I
a good
am.
thing. Yes.
And I'm not saying that I don't believe in myself or my own beauty, because I do. But I certainly I'm looking at my imperfections and
Mhm.
oh, I
Do
got this
that.
going on. I got that going on. Oh,
I
I
think
got
we
this
all
We
going
all
on.
do that though, and
You
I
know,
do
so
that
I
too.
don't
We
know
all
how
do
how
that.
women in this town ever normalize in their body to be.
Right.
I don't know if that ever happens unless they're like friends of mine who are so deep and have done so much spiritual work that this isn't as important as everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that gets us through. And, it's no different with men. My husband just had spinal surgery and he lost 20 pounds.
Mm.
And he definitely has been hard on himself. With, I look older. I have to get weight on me. And I'm like, I said, you still look gorgeous. You're still my Richard Gere. But
that.
he's like,
I
I
love Richard
saw him the
Gere.
other day looking in the mirror, like, whoa, where's
Mhm.
my muscle? Where's
Right.
what I
Mhm.
had, right? Because he lost so much weight so quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's any different. I think it's harder for women,
Mm.
but I do see a lot of that with men as well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Michael?
Oh, I think it's growing, and I think,
Yeah.
but part of this,
Absolutely.
I think, is well, we work in a business that so much of it is the aesthetics, right?
Totally.
And we
Exactly.
define and we push it, and I would really love because so much of what you've done is take the most challenging thing that you can't explain to somebody. Like I can't imagine you wake up and you have no hair, right?
It's
Mm.
trippy.
Like that on a bunch of levels.
Right. That has to
We're
be
not we're the
terrifying.
psychological level, the physical level, the
Mhm.
medical level, the appearance level, all of those things all at the
Right.
same time, right? And yet what you did is create a whole world of ways of helping other women
Exactly.
reclaim.
I have for almost 24 years, but I didn't plan on it.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
it's
go into
beautiful.
it. I was sick.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
given a 50% chance of her walking again, and I was bedridden.
Oh wow.
So I was losing money. I had no money. Um, I had gone to a terrible chiropractor who really hurt me and caused a problem, and I was left. I woke up one day and I fell. I had no strength below at all
Mm.
Oh,
to hold me
jeez.
up. People had to bathe me, put me back, and all of that in bed. And I would like hate God, and I would say, you know what? I am not somebody to kill myself. I'm
Mhm.
not somebody to hurt myself. I would never cut myself or OD. But you know what, God? I've really had a full life, and this pain is just too much. I need you to take me. However you want to take me, I'm surrendering. Just take me.
Mm.
And then a treatment came about, and then things happened. But during the time that I was sick, I was also producing and writing at this time.
Wow.
And I had a deal at Sony, and I had a deal at US. I had other deals, but they kept falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But on the left side of my life, I had all these women calling me out of the blue from my hair loss support groups and all this stuff. And I would read Louise Hayes all the time and all these books. And I would say, okay, like, what do you want from me?
Right.
Like, what is it that you want me to do? Because I don't want this. This I can't do. And I remember looking up after these phone. There was one day when I had all these calls. I went, no, this is not what you want me to do.
This is not what I was
Like, I am
supposed
not
to.
ready for
I don't know
this.
a thing. I got myself through this. I have a wig maker if I need it. I don't know how to make wigs. I don't know how to consult women. And I heard, you know what? If you do my work, I'll get you to walk again.
Ooh.
Mm.
And I thought, what's that
Powerful.
supposed to mean?
Mm.
Like, what was that? Like, when you
Right.
hear something, but you don't hear
Yes.
it. And then, did I think that just now?
Right.
Did I hear that just now? I
Mhm.
still don't know which was which, by the way.
Mhm.
And right after that happened, I had ex-boyfriend call me, and I said, I can't talk to you right now. I'm broke, and this is what happened. I'm in bed. And he said, well, how much is this procedure? I said, it's $10,000 and I don't have it. And he goes, I'm sending 10,000 over to you. Now, I had not talked to him
Mm.
in years.
Wow.
And that was right maybe 6 hours after this certain thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Wow.
And he said, you know that thing you put together for me years ago, I made money on? I said, wait a minute. If you're willing to bring over 10,000, you must have made a lot more. Like, you should be bringing over 50. But I attribute to him, to getting me well.
That's
So I'm
nice.
grateful. But while I was sick and while I was getting these phone calls, I thought, well, I have no money. I'm going to charge $15 a call.
Mm.
So I was all day on the phone, like with
Right.
different people. How do you date? How do you do this? How do you wear a wig? What do I do? I'm getting it made. What do I do when the wind blows? And I had all these techniques that I had created for myself that are all in Sex, Wigs, and Whispers. They're all in my book.
Amazing.
All the lies I told, everything.
Mm.
And so when I could walk again, well, while I was sick, I got a little bald spot on my right eyebrow. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I'm going to create an eyebrow somehow, so I'll have them for me. And I had a gentleman that came in from Europe, and I had created a line of eyebrows, but I never put them out. When I got well, I sold wigs out of the trunk of my car. And I'd go into cancer centers and hair loss centers by foot up St. John's, every office. And they'd say, wow, I really like this. Do you have it in brown? I said, I'll bring it to your house tomorrow. And I would make a $50 profit. And I did that for 2 years until I could move it to
Amazing.
my house.
That is really amazing.
Crazy, right?
That's awesome.
It like took off. But still, I had like my whole car was filled with wigs. I
Yeah.
felt, you know what? At least I'm making enough money
That's
to
right.
survive, right?
Yes.
Well, that eyebrow, I said, you know what? I'm ready to put that eyebrow in home shopping. I need a glue. How do I find a glue? Well, someone turned me on to a glue guy that to this day I've never met, who said in one of the phone calls we had, and it was nothing sexual, it was just business.
Right.
He said, you keep on telling me you have this idea for a swim wig. I said, I do. He said, well, Adirond's is the largest company in the world. They're up at this convention in Vegas, and like you should go up and hang with them. I said, what? I said, no, I'm not going to hang with them. I don't do that. I said, if they want to see it, they can sign paperwork with me and an NDA, and they can see my
Absolutely.
design.
Right.
So 2 weeks later, the president of their company, the subsidiary of American company, came in, and he showed me this line they were doing. And I went and tried it on in the bathroom. I said, you are going to lose your ass. This is the worst because of this structure and that piece and this. Because for years, when I didn't have money, I had to sew my own wigs together.
Right.
And I would cut off the nape, and I would swim with it, and I needed a high nape. And I just learned really by doing it for
Mhm.
myself. I didn't know about structure or making a wig at that time. I learned through really good people
Just
after that.
personal experience.
Yeah. So then, then I showed him. I said, okay, well, I have this. He said, okay, well, fly to us in Minnesota and bring the design. I said, okay. Well, I get there, and there was no paperwork. I said,
Mm-mm.
so where's the paperwork?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he goes, oh my God, we forgot. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go have some coffee at the mall. And when you find that paperwork, then you and I can talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if
Yep.
not, I'll be back on a plane by noon.
Yeah.
That's the way this is going to roll,
right.
Oh, I found the paper. I said, you did, right? Anyway, long story short, he was very good to me, and they put up millions of dollars for the swim wig. Had I not gotten sick, done the eyebrow,
Yep. There
Right.
it is.
they put up the money. They put me on the map. They got me with People all the press, everything. Then I was put on the map. It's like, had that not happened, I really wouldn't be helping women with the way I am now. And
Mhm.
so even though I cursed God at the time and everything, I'm like so grateful that I could do the work.
Right.
And that's why when a woman says to me, you don't know how I feel. Oh, no.
Oh, you know.
Right.
No, I had that many
Exactly.
breakdowns.
You know exactly.
And
how
I
they
still
feel.
live with it. And I still have to relive it. It's
Yeah.
not like it's people think, well, because you're in the press and because you sell and because you design, that it's any less. It is less because I got a handle on it. But there are times when I would love to have my real hair on when I'm making love with my husband. I would love to not have to put it on all the time.
Right.
But I won't go out bald. That's just me. I always honor women who can do that. That's just not me,
Right.
I've just never gotten to that place. I've taken it off during press. I've taken it off for photo shoots, but I'm not taking it off to go to Nordstrom's. And so I've never had that need to do it
Mhm.
or that real want. But I always respect a woman who's willing to do it,
Mhm.
and do everything from tattooing her head and everything else. I just really admire that. But then I remember saying to myself, this was maybe 10 years into my business. No, I'm sorry, it was 2 years into the business. And it was time to call clients back for their wigs because they'd had them 2 years now.
Mhm.
And 40% of them were gone from cancer.
Oh my.
Oh.
And I went into this
Oh my
horrible
gosh.
spin.
Mm.
And I remember saying, I'm going to give up the business. I can't do this part at all. And my therapist said to me, well, let's think about what that's going to look like for a moment. So you built this great business and you're going to walk because you lost some clients. Look how many other clients are there to come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yep.
deny those people because this, you got to get a handle on this.
Mhm.
And I didn't see people for 3.5 weeks. I needed to really work through
Sure.
how I was going to do this. And I never learned because I always get attached to my clients. My husband goes, oh my God, her wig turned out wrong and you're acting like, I said, yes, the alterations made a mistake. He goes, you're going to resew it. What's the problem? I said, well, you don't understand what she's going through. She came all the way here to get it.
Yep.
And you know what? He
Yeah.
goes, You're fixing it. It looks great. You're getting it done. I don't understand why you're so upset. I said, because if you were a wig wearer,
Mhm.
you would know what that moment went
That's
and
so
meant for
true.
her.
Mhm.
That's why. So when people say to me, you don't understand, or this thing happened, I go, I get you. I really do.
Right.
And I am not perfect. And factories aren't perfect. And workers aren't perfect. But we always make it right. We always stand behind it. Always fix it.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, that doesn't mean I don't empathize with your challenge at the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
Right. Um, but that's kind of, that in a nutshell. You asked me how it happened. That was really my journey
Mhm.
with alopecia. And now, right now I'm raising $50 million and almost there actually. And to give away 100,000 wigs to women and children going through cancer in this
Awesome.
I
country.
love that.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
halfway
amazing.
home. I
Yeah.
have another few steps to go before the total yes is there, but I
Mhm.
believe that we'll have the funding.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's a huge project for
Well,
me.
that definitely sounds like a
Yeah.
huge project. Yeah.
So one of our things that we talk about is like discussing, if you have a chronic illness or rare disease and you start dating, and it's like, when do
Mhm.
you tell that partner or potential, love that, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I have. I'm just curious to know because with your husband
You
and
don't want to know my answer to that, do you?
Oh.
oh, do I?
Yes, we
I
do.
do.
We do want to
Okay.
know.
First of all, my hair loss is a blessing and it's a gift, and you better earn it.
Right.
You better earn it. You don't
That's
get it.
great.
Can I pause you right there?
That's amazing.
Because I think it's beautiful.
Yep.
Oh,
And I want to say it from the other side is because a lot of times women are dealing with things. And we did mention how men have this perspective on kind of
men go
appearance.
through it too, though, when
They
they lose
do.
their hair. Oh
But
yeah.
at the
For
same
sure.
time, not just hair, but women deal with a lot of things. And I think sometimes we underestimate, like, earn the right.
Absolutely.
Make sure she should feel safe enough. And I'm gonna phrase that as a guy. If she doesn't feel safe enough, that's on you,
Mm-hmm.
I
right?
agree.
Yep.
Earn that right.
Absolutely.
And I think that I actually love that because I want to
Such a
echo
great
that.
answer, though.
Yeah, that's a great
Well,
answer.
yes and no, in the sense that I think one of the biggest mistakes women make when they're going through hair loss and they meet a guy is, all right, I'm dealing with this. I just really have to tell you what I'm going through, okay? But I'm really getting a handle on it. And they think they're going to use that to connect.
Mm.
Like it's going to be a bonding moment. No, it isn't.
Mhm.
It's just empowering yourself, girl. That is not what you do. First of all, men are, with all due respect, men are not good with emotions. So to sit there and do that, I give a really good example of this. There's a girl in the industry who hates me because she believes you should tell somebody within 3 dates, and if not, you're a liar and you're misleading.
Mm.
I could see her point of view, but I completely disagree with it. Here's my example. You go out with a guy and the chemistry is there. Like, women, we future, we're already seeing the wedding dress.
Yeah.
And sitting there and the sparks are flying, you're having a
Mhm.
drink, all is good. And right in the middle, his mother calls him and he says something really derogatory about her when he hangs up. I'm like, uh-oh, red flag. We got a mother
Yes.
issue here.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I don't like what that was about. All right, we can let that go. Oh, chemistry's here. We're laughing, having a real good time. But meanwhile, that little phone call's back there. About,
Right.
let it go. And then he goes, oh, God, I got the pussiest pimple. I just want to pop it. And I'm like, and this happened. And I went, really? Now, I'm one that loves popping pimples. I love Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like
the
the
Dr. Pimple
biggest
Oh my
fan.
gosh, that show.
My husband thinks I'm disgusting. I'm like watching it. Oh, wow, get the pus and the white stuff. I love it. And my brothers and him, I'm always going, let me have some right now. Like, don't touch my back. So I go to my husband, I keep your back clean. But so he mentions this pussy pimple. Now, that brought the moment down just about 60%. And I'm thinking, I am not as attracted as I was right now. Like the chemistry just went, phew.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Here's my thing. If I knew him better, I'd pick his pimple and enjoy it. If I knew him better and got to know his heart, I'd get him back with his mom. I'm really good at healing relationships that way.
Right.
I've always done that in my relationships with like a parent, right?
Mhm.
But it's a little too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
don't know your heart
That's true.
for you to let that out. And with women, I always feel, You know what? If you're friends with somebody, just get them to know a little bit. Just get them to know, get to know them a little bit, so that if you do tell them, you don't have to wonder what their reaction is going to be.
Yeah.
That's
You don't
true.
have to wonder why they're not calling you the next day.
Yep.
They really could be busy doing something. It's not because it had anything to do with you.
Mhm.
But I feel that from our own insecurity and our own concern that we're not going to be accepted because of our hair loss, that we want to get it out of the way. And that's okay, but there's a time and a place to do it right. And I always say, you don't get to know my inner
Mhm.
secret like that.
Mhm.
You don't get to know this until you prove yourself to me. And if I know you have a good soul and you're a good man, then it's okay. I remember I met Bill on Match.com, and I had a mission. I didn't want to get married because I'd had a bad engagement. I decided, well, I don't need a man to be feeding me or anything. I'm not about to have kids. I just want a
Right.
soulmate.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so they sent him my photo saying that based on the algorithms that you'd be very compatible. And I was. I mean, I married my best friend. So I was busy girl, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and cocktails. I was on a mission that within 6 months, I was.
Yes,
You know,
I
my
love it, I
mother-
love
Lunch,
it.
dinner,
telling
I
you.
love
Yeah.
it. I like
seriously, my mother was like,
Yes.
where you place your focus, right? I was like, I'm going to find my man.
Okay.
Love
So
it.
I was dating 5 guys that were all contenders, really good people. But then Bill called. Bill emailed me because they had given him or messaged me, right? I couldn't fit him in. I was like dating like mad. So 3 weeks later, we're talking on the phone, and he goes, by the way, what's your last name? And I did not want him to look me up on Google. I did
Mm.
not want him to know I was bald.
Right.
I get this one because when you don't have anonymity, the last thing everybody else gets to have their whole story about you before
Yep.
they meet you.
Yep.
Like,
I didn't want him to know.
yeah.
And so I said, it's He goes, what? I said, it's And he goes, God, you know what? It must be the phone. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you. I said, it's Amy Gibson. And he goes, oh, wait a minute. There's someone at my door. Can I call you back? And
Oh,
No call.
Oh no.
I call now that thing happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
My God, I'm going to end up alone. None of these guys are really going to want me. Once they know, like the other guys don't know what's going to happen. I call my mother, you know what? I'm just going to be alone. This is one guy, and this guy I actually really liked. And this was it. With all those others didn't matter. And all of a sudden the phone rings. I go, hello. And he goes, hey, I'm on your website. Which of these girls are you? I said, all of them. He goes, oh, that's so cool. I went, oh my God.
That's amazing.
Right.
And I happen to marry a Jubu, a Jewish Buddhist who belongs to Agape, follows my Church of Religious Science since I've been a kid. Which is not Scientology. How could I have found this, right?
Yeah.
And it never mattered to him. And I remember my sister, let her rest in peace, said to me, Amy, I think this is a very bad idea going on. After all, you got some thighs going on. These girls are in perfect shape. The age you're looking for, those guys want someone in their 30. And, the hair, honey. Those girls have a gorgeous head of hair. I just don't want to see you hurt.
Oh.
I said, I understand your concern, but here's the deal. I really believe the way Mom brought us up under Edgar Casey, who was a very big prophet, who believed what you think you create. And I said, the man that I'm going to be drawn to, I'm going to tell you right now, the man that I'm bringing in is going to love, there's a Jewish word called polkas for your thighs. He's going to love my polkas. He's going to love my age because we're going to speak the same language and understand the same music. And he's going to kiss my bald head every night before I go to bed. At least that or my forehead. And don't you know that's what Bill does every single night?
Oh man, it's gorgeous.
So
He's a keeper.
He's a keeper.
He's a keeper.
So, but I share
Yes.
that with women because there is hope.
Right.
That is hope.
And just because you have hair loss, I'll tell you something. Men over 35 really don't care as much. 40, because they're getting a stomach. They got their stuff to do. Their hair is thinning. And they
It's
get,
receded.
you know what I mean? They get a little more real.
Yeah.
They get a little more real, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't find that the opinions are that serious.
Yeah.
They're a little more accepting, right? As you get a little older. Don't you find that you are?
I think the thing for me is
I mean, I know you're only 20, but
I don't know if it's an age thing. I think I think when men start to grow up, they start to look for
yeah,
what's
maybe.
real.
That's true.
Yeah, I think
And-
that's a
Yes.
good point.
And so some people get a little earlier, or some people find their person earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the truth is, like, I think this is a thing about relationships. And it's one of my, we've kind of had this conversation. I hate how people show up and send their representative instead of themselves.
Totally. That just comes out of fear, though.
It is. But
Yeah.
It is
so what
out of
ends up
fear.
happening is they don't really meet each other. And then the thing that they hid from each other usually becomes the thing that they either didn't like.
Right.
But when you're authentic with people, and when men get to the age where they're actually really looking for someone or they meet, the truth is, when you meet that person, things that might have annoyed you about somebody else,
Right. Yeah.
you're like, in the past, you're like, oh, that was a deal breaker. And then with that person, you're like, that dishes thing, that's not that big a deal. Or the way they stack
It's
their
amazing,
clothes.
right?
Right?
Yeah.
You go, I can overlook that because there's all this other amazing stuff. And
Yeah.
what you said about their soul, right? Like one of the things is about telling someone, if you have anything, whether it be, we talk about medical conditions, hair, any of these things, is this person going to honor what happens with me, right?
Right.
Like that's one of the things with people. One of the first things I want to know, people who come and gossip to me, I can't trust you with information because you're
Absolutely.
about to go do it with
Absolutely.
somebody
For
else.
sure.
Yep. No.
Somebody comes and tells me somebody else's lie.
Yeah.
And they talking about you as soon as you
Yep.
leave.
That's exactly
Yep.
it. I know this
Yes.
is going to be the same thing. So, or when I watch people in business deals, right?
Mhm.
I have this policy, like, and people, like, I'm not a guy who goes to the strip club and goes and does, like, especially if I know somebody's
not?
married. No,
I like strip clubs.
Like, but for me, like, if you're in a partnership and your spouse wouldn't want you to do that, but you hide that and you go on the road and you do it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not cool.
So, like, here's my thing.
Yeah.
Well, now I can't trust you in business
Right on. I agree.
because if you do that to the person
There
you
you go.
Yep,
supposedly
there you
love
go.
the
Yep.
most,
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
what is my expectation for you to actually honor what you're
Yep.
going to
Yeah.
do?
Right.
Like
Sure.
somewhere down the
Good point.
road, if you can do this to the people who are supposed to mean the most,
Mhm.
intimacy is built in trust and action,
Mhm.
right? So he kisses your head every night because he kisses you and sees you,
Oh, yeah. No,
right?
he's
He
good.
wants you every night.
But let me give you a couple of things for women to do, if I can
Mhm.
switch for just a second,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I'm thinking I didn't answer this. When I hadn't gone public yet, and it works still all the time, I have all these steps in my book, right? I would say on a date, oh God, my head is so sore. I had these. Remember, extensions is more easily accepted than
Mm.
wigs.
Mm.
The stigma is less for wigs because people still think, oh my God, you're sick, but it's really lessened a lot.
Mhm.
It doesn't have the stigma it had at not nearly what it did. Yeah. I would say, oh God, my head is so, I had these great extensions, but do me a favor, like don't touch my head because it's like really sore, okay? And they'd go, okay.
Mm.
Now we all know about black men, they never touch a woman's hair,
Nope.
okay?
Yeah.
Never. Like Kathy says, you know not to touch a sister's hair.
Yeah.
But
Don't touch
I
my
would
hair.
then I'll say things like when I'm ready to tell him, I would say things like this. Hey, do you like my hair? He'd go, oh God, I love your hair. I said, really? Well, you can have it because I don't have any. That's not a problem, is it? He goes, what? But I was so okay about it
Mm.
Mhm.
by that time. But if you're not okay,
Exactly.
you got to bluff it. There are ways if somebody's going to reach behind you, take his hand and when you put it anywhere else, you're going to put it, just not there.
Right.
In Sex, Wigs, and Whispers, it's mainly about intimacy. There's 5 sexual positions, including fellatio, and how to do that without him knowing you're wearing a wig. But the
Mm.
rest of it is literally how to date. Do I tell my partner? Do I tell my boss? How do I tell my kids? Like it's really more about intimate, not so much about kids, but the people in my life closest to me.
Sure. Mm.
And the other way is to basically sit down with somebody when you know them and say, I have this thing I haven't really told you about. I have it handled. You got to still be okay with it. If you're going to discuss it, you don't want to vomit on somebody.
Mhm.
That's not going to make you get closer.
Right.
That's disempowering.
Mhm.
You can certainly explain your situation. You could cry, but you got to still be in control of your tears. You can't be out of control. And say, you know what? I always say, I did a thing recently where I said on tape, I said, you know what? Being bald sucks. It's a journey. It's a lifetime journey. And there are times I really wish I had my hair back. And there are times I'm really glad I don't. I'm at a house in 5 minutes looking great. I would have to deal with my hair. But there is something that I've dealt with. I got it handled. But I want to tell you about it so you know who I really am. So I have no hair. I could be anybody you want me to be. Blonde, brunette, whatever. But I just need you to know that. Now, somebody turned to me when I said that, and they said, well, is it catchy? And I was taken so off guard.
Mm.
Is alopecia catchy? Yeah. He goes, well, am I going to get it if I kiss you? He had no idea what it was. He just
Right.
knew, and I honored it because
Yeah.
he really had no idea.
It wasn't his fault. He
And I
he
said,
just wasn't educated
that's such an
about it.
interesting question. First of all, thanks for asking that.
Mhm.
No, it's not catchy to my knowledge. And the other thing is, you don't ever have to see me if you don't want to this way. Like, I'm okay going to sleep in my wig and taking it off in the morning. It's not very comfortable, but until you get more comfortable with it, I'm okay with it, Well, he was okay 2 days later. It was like he got through it over. It's like because it was on the table. Now, there was a guy that I went out with, um, and I said before that I like strip clubs. I do. They're fun, right? So I'm always like, I wish I had that body. But he takes me to a club, and he did not know I was into strip clubs at the time. And don't you know, the hostess that walks up had my hair. And she looked just like me
Oh,
when I was, and I
wow.
went, and he said to me, we sat down, why did you do that? I go, what did I do what? He goes, you went, I didn't even know I did that.
Mm.
Wow.
I said, really? I have no idea. Oh. And I said, you know what, this is kind of boring. I said, let's just go hear some comedy. So we go to the comedy club. I had driven because his car was not working. Go to the comedy club, and he brings it up again. I don't even know why he brought it up again.
Mm.
I said, okay, let me tell you what's going on. Now, this is another thing. Women think because they have these conversations on phones, like for 2 hours, that all of a sudden they're bonded. No, they're not. You haven't even met the guy yet. You know what? You're on the phone with him. Yes, you connected on one level.
Oh,
So
love
I
it,
was the
Amy.
girl who thought we had a real connection because we've been on
Mhm.
the phone like 9 times, right?
Mhm.
So I thought I could tell him. And he was curious. And he really seemed interested.
Mm.
And then he goes, well, I just have to go to the men's room. I'll be right back. 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Oh, what an ass.
15
Mhm.
minutes. I asked this guy, could you go in and see if my friend's okay? And he said, there's no one in there.
Oh, wow.
And I went out to where you check in. I said, hi, remember I walked in with the tall guy with blonde hair? Did you see him? She goes, oh, yeah, he left about 15 minutes ago by cab. We didn't have Ubers back then.
Oh, wow.
And I did not tell anybody for years after that because shame on me, I did not know him well enough.
Right.
And being on the phone and connecting with phone calls is not being in the presence of somebody where you can actually see their eyes
That's
Yep.
true.
and feel it if it's okay and safe. And
Mhm.
that is the thing I teach women most.
Mhm.
You know what? It's here.
Mhm.
Can I talk about my product?
I was
for a
just
moment?
about to go there
Yes.
after that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this
Let everyone
as you
knows.
grab that stuff. I am gonna say this. He didn't deserve you, and he
Oh,
and,
I
and,
love you. Give me
no.
a hug.
The reality of
You
that
didn't
is,
deserve me.
a friend of mine always calls it
I
self-selecting.
hope you're watching.
Right?
Yeah.
Self-selecting,
Me too.
right?
I'm
Right?
sure he will be.
You know what? It's all right.
All right,
because-
show us
Let
your
people
stuff.
see what
But
you
All right, so let
have.
me tell you,
here's the
each
thing.
of the things that I create come out of
Yes.
my own frustration. Okay, that's number one. So the ResQ Bag, which is a large bag, this is a mini bag, but it comes with a large wig bag that comes, and I actually couldn't get it here in time. It has pockets, and then it has a wig bag that fits into a tube.
That is really
It actually
cute. Thanks for
has-
giving us
Yes,
one,
thank
too.
you.
You'll see it. You can insert it, but if you look up for ResQ Bag, resqbag.com. And basically, this is a bag that I patented because the
That's
inside
really
prevents human hair and synthetic from tangling, but it's also water resistant, so you can use it as a makeup bag. But this fits into another bag that then drawstring, and it looks like a pocketbook. This came
That's
out
cute.
of when I first lost my hair. I was working out at the sports club, which is now Equinox on Sepulveda. And I was dealing with these really hot synthetic wigs. I'd only lost my hair 6 weeks prior. I was still trying to get a handle of how to live my life, right? And I would go into the bathroom, and they had a bench, and I would take off my wet wig that was soaking wet from working out, and I would put it in a plastic bag. I would take my dry wig first out of the plastic bag, put the wet wig in there, and I would have my tape and my brush and my little witch hazel pads to clean my head because I'm really into hair hygiene and scalp hygiene. And I would do all that, and like in 5 minutes, I'd put the tape on the wig, and I would then be able to sit and put on my makeup and feel like a normal woman, like every other woman.
Mhm.
One day, there was no bathroom stall available. There was only a handicap stall. But I figured, I got this down, right? 2 minutes, I'll be out of there. Well, no one had seen me bald at this time. I put my head over to just put in, and a woman in a wheelchair happened to pull across and start screaming at me for everybody for not being handicapped. And everybody looked, and I was bald, and I was so freaked out that I started grabbing everything, and everything started to fall.
Mm.
And I put on the wig, it must have been backwards, and I ran to my car, and I remember crying for like an hour, and I said, one day I'm going to create a bag so I don't have to carry this, that doesn't look like a wig box or a bag, that's going to carry all my accessories. And then there's going to be another bag to put the wig in, and it will be
That's really
water
good.
resistant.
No, that's great.
I
And
like it.
it took me 12 years to bring the ResQ Bag to market.
Oh,
A-
we got
and
it up there.
We have it
a-
up there
We
for
have it up
you.
on the.
That's it.
Yeah.
so that it doesn't get tangled in it, right?
Mhm.
Because you put it in, and
Right,
then all of a
and it
sudden,
mats up.
Yeah.
in other material, all of a sudden it
Right.
gets tied in or it gets
Yeah.
Right.
mats up, and then you go to
Right.
take it out, and now you have
It's
a
a
mess
mess.
that it's not ready to
That's
So
wear.
really
this is
nice.
I like
like
that.
Yeah.
The Wig Secure Band. I have been trying to do a band for years because when I was younger and I had lost my hair, what's out are those nylon. This is before the cotton bands. They were nylon
Mhm.
and they would slip,
Mhm.
right? Then the cotton band came out. And then I would sew polyurethane. I didn't know anything about silicone, but something that would help stick so I could put wig tape to it to stick to my head. And for years, I was trying to figure it out. And every band that came on the market, when a wig band didn't come out, I said, you know what? It's whoever gets there first. Figure somebody came out with a
Right.
band. I had remembered, by this time, as a fluke, I sent the design to a friend of mine in China of a band that I had in mind. She goes, I have a factory that you could do this with.
Mm.
So we started producing this in 2017.
Mhm.
And so the Wig Secure Band is the first band of its kind that's reversible for women with and without hair. So it's made with a built-in silicone grip strip.
To like hold it
So it holds
together.
it. And if you
Yes.
have hair, you use it this way, and it holds onto the wig cap. It's the only medically approved band on the market. So this is approved by one of the biggest cancer doctors in the country,
Amazing.
named Tom Loeb.
Mm.
So the Wig Secure Band really came out of a guy showing up in a convertible when I was much younger. And I thought, how am I going to
Oh,
keep my
man.
wig on? Right. So I would put hats on. And I said, well, I want to be able to walk the beach and not worry and always wear a hat. So little by little,
You
I was
started
doing that.
creating it, right?
Scalp cushion is a completely different thing. So scalp cushion came out of incredible frustration from the itchiness of wigs for years before I was able to design. This has the natural curvature of the scalp. Okay.
Great.
This has taken 6 years to come to market. This material is completely translucent.
Can I feel it?
Yeah. It's made with 2 patented
Wow.
materials. The silicone grip, what it does is it
Very,
actually
yeah.
conforms to the person's own scalp shape. So it comes like this, and then in 2 wears, it starts to take on your own scalp. The technology is incredible
really
with
soft.
this.
That's interesting.
really
What
soft.
this does,
Wow.
it's like a buffer.
Mhm.
So if you have return hairs, which is where they knot the hairs inside the wig, and sometimes it has a lining and sometimes it doesn't, or over time and you have rough wig bases, this is amazing. This just came out. This has taken off like wildfire. I'm so grateful.
Mm.
But this took me 6 years in 3 different factories for them to get the right curvature.
Right.
So it just immediately fits correctly on the head.
Well,
So-
look how you're helping women.
I know.
You're
I'm
helping
trying.
women all over the
I'm
world.
trying,
Are.
I
All over the world.
I'm trying. I mean, I do Zoom and Skype. Now it's called Zoom, right? So Skype is like a thing of the past, but 3 times a week, 3 hours a day. And so basically, createdhair.com is online. Created Hair,
Okay.
the designs, the salon is in Beverly Hills. It's exclusive. I don't put the address online. You have to call our number, which is 1-877-FOR-WIGS, 367-9447. They can, when they make their appointment, and it's a consultation fee, you are then sent where the address is, but you have to give me your license plate, the color and make of your car,
Right.
because
love
with the
that.
Beverly Hills app now,
Oh,
the way to
yes.
park,
Yeah.
no, to park in Beverly Hills on any of
Mhm.
these streets, you actually, to get, be able to park without paying, you have to give all that information I put
Mhm.
into an app. So I have a lot of information on somebody before they're going to come. I want to see your photos. so that by the time you arrive to me, I'm ready for you.
Right.
I know your story. I know how we're going to work. I know what you look like.
You know where they live.
But like all
Yeah, no,
that,
that's
it's
great.
not just like, oh, come into the store.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nobody going to be there when you're there.
Mhm.
You get an hour by yourself, usually an hour and a half. My
Like,
stylist.
curated to that specific person. Which
Oh
I
my
love,
God.
yeah.
You know, Vika Canis and Kathleen Leonard have been with me for so many years. They're incredibly empathetic and very knowledgeable when it comes to cancer care for hair.
There it is.
Mhm.
And createdhair.com, I really did it as an access to, you know, I sell accessories, but you can't buy my wigs on there because most women make mistakes. They don't really know exactly what to buy. There's so much information.
Mhm.
Then let me walk you through it. It's just a lot easier if you and I talk. And over the phone or Zoom, I can kind of take you what we need to do. 45% of the women that I meet, that I work with, I don't meet. I do their wigs via online. I send them caps. We do the measurements together. I send you colors. You send me pictures. We match it. Kathleen, who's Emmy Award winning for Legendary this year and head of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and all this stuff, she can literally cut from a photo.
Wow.
And it will look exactly. We do have 3 models that will put the wigs on depending on neck length, and we'll make it look like you. So on a production level, I think we do a really good job. But the person, if they're not ready, I can take you there, but I can't push you over the edge.
Yeah.
Like you need to go, you know what? I'm going to embrace this hair loss thing. It's the first step. Then I'm going to get rocking. And I'm going to watch, Created Hair by Amy Gibson on YouTube, and I'm going to learn how to live this new journey. I'm going to read the book. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do everything I got to do so I can live in my normal rockin' life
Right.
and be empowered like any other woman. I am no different. I am no less. I'm more.
Right.
I love
it.
So
that
beautiful.
story. Thank you
Oh,
so
my
much,
God.
I'm glad you
Amy.
came
Like,
on.
It's a mouthful.
no,
It's
but we
beautiful.
appreciate you being here and
I
thank
appreciate
you.
you
And
listening.
this is just
I hope I answered the stuff that you had written to
did.
me.
no, but just you
Okay.
told an amazing story. So I
Yeah.
appreciate
you.
it. Your journey is
Thank you,
important.
honey.
So
What you
thank
did is give a gift. It's a
Yes.
gift for people because a lot of people either weren't there yet or didn't know who to reach to.
I hope so. But you know what? I have a client that has had hair loss for 27 years. I love her so much, but she's still not able to handle it. She's not. She gets a wig, but she has such turmoil still.
Mm.
And no matter what, I've even sent her to my therapist. No matter what,
Yeah.
whatever was her journey in a past life or this life or growing up or what she heard, because we're brought up with VO5 commercials and you have all this subliminal marketing and Barbie doll, that everything is, so much effort is put on all of this, right? So much importance that I think for her, yeah, she has a journey ahead of her still.
Yeah.
But for most women, they can get through it.
Right.
They can get through it. And I really appreciate you giving me this time.
Yeah. We
Love it.
appreciate
Awesome.
you being
Appreciate
here
you.
to educate the viewers and
I hope
the
so. It's
listeners.
Breast
Yes.
Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
It's really important.
Mhm.
And, hair loss goes hand in hand with chemotherapy or radiation. And this is a really important thing to know that just because you're diagnosed does not leave, number one, that it's death, and number two, that it's the end of the world because of the hair,
Right.
because we can make you look exactly like you
Yeah.
look. Nobody has to know.
Right.
We're known for television, so we get you authentic. You're going to look exactly like you looked by the time you leave. But you also have to walk in ready for that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs an Amy in their life.
Oh, I love you.
Yes.
Now I want to know your story, although we're going off air in a
We're
second.
gonna call you. She can tell you all
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
She does have a story though.
I do have a story though.
Yeah.
I mean, I will.
We'll
yeah,
kind of go.
after.
Good.
Stop us.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you all.
Appreciate it,
Thank you
honey.
for tuning in. And I don't know where the camera is, but here we go. Okay. Thank you guys. And thank you, Amy. And
You're welcome.
you know,
Thank you. I appreciate being here.